Welcome back to Binge Movie Breakdowns, where we make movies easy to binge. Today, we're recapping the horror war movie called Under the Shadow, spoilers incoming. A chilling tale set during the Iran-Iraq War that blends the horrors of conflict with supernatural terror. This film masterfully captures the psychological toll of war while exploring the bond between a mother and daughter. If you're fascinated by stories that combine fear, resilience, and the human spirit, then stick around for the breakdown. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss out on our latest movie breakdowns. Let's get started. The film begins during a time of immense political unrest, shortly after the Iranian Revolution. Shideh, a young mother, dreams of resuming her medical studies, which she had to abandon due to the revolution and her subsequent marriage. Determined to become a doctor, she meets with the dean of her medical college, only to face rejection. The dean cites her involvement in past political protests as the reason, leaving Shideh disheartened and uncertain about her future. Returning home, Shideh tries to mask her disappointment. She lives in a modest apartment with her young daughter Dorsa, surrounded by neighbors who share the building. During her absence, Mrs. Fakour, a kind and supportive neighbor, has been looking after Dorsa. Sensing Shideh's distress, Mrs. Fakour comforts her and encourages her to keep her spirits up. However, Shideh's frustration lingers as she begins packing her medical textbooks, a symbolic act of shelving her dreams. Among her belongings is a cherished physiology book gifted by her late mother, complete with an encouraging handwritten note. Shideh locks it away, placing the key atop a cupboard as if trying to lock away her aspirations. When Iraj, Shideh's husband, arrives home, she shares her disappointment about the dean's decision. Iraj, a doctor and her former classmate, listens sympathetically but suggests that it might be better for their family if Shideh doesn't return to her studies. His comment stings and tension brews between them. Before the conversation can escalate into an argument, air raid sirens suddenly pierce the air, signaling incoming missiles. The family, along with their neighbors, rushes to the building's underground bunker for safety. Dorsa clings tightly to her favorite doll, Kimia, finding comfort in its presence. While in the bunker, Shideh notices Dorsa interacting with a young boy named Mehdi, who seems withdrawn. Curious, Shideh later learns from Mrs. Fakour that Mehdi is the landlord's nephew, and has recently arrived in Tehran. The next day, Shideh overhears her daughter Dorsa talking about a djinn, an evil spirit from old stories in their culture. Shideh doesn't think much of it and brushes it off, believing it's just her child's wild imagination. She doesn't realize how scared Dorsa is becoming. Instead of addressing her daughter's fear, she dismisses it, thinking it's nothing serious. Meanwhile, Dorsa's father, Oraj, tries to comfort her. He tells Dorsa that her beloved doll, Kimia, will keep her safe from anything scary. His kind words seem to help Dorsa feel better for the moment. However, their family's world soon takes a dramatic turn. A letter arrives, and it's not good news. Iraj is being called to serve on the war front. It's a devastating blow for everyone. This moment changes everything for Shideh and Dorsa. The already tense atmosphere in their home becomes heavier. Shideh now has to manage her own fears, Dorsa's growing anxiety, and the eerie events that seem to creep closer every day, all while dealing with the absence of Iraj. Their family is now faced with challenges they never expected, and the weight of it all begins to press down on them. Iraj, concerned for the safety of his wife, Shideh, and their daughter, Dorsa, suggests they move to his parents' home in the north. He believes it's the best decision since the northern region is much quieter and safer, far away from the air raids and the constant fear in the city. Iraj thinks it's the right way to protect his family during such dangerous times. However, Shideh doesn't agree. Still hurt by Iraj's earlier comments about her capabilities, she refuses to leave. She insists that she can handle things on her own and doesn't want to run away from their home, even with the war happening around them. Shideh feels staying in their apartment is important for her sense of independence. Despite Iraj's efforts to convince her, she stands firm, determined to face the challenges ahead while taking care of Dorsa in their familiar surroundings. Her determination to stay in their home, even with all the dangers around them, shows just how much she wants to prove that she can handle everything, even if it means facing it alone. With Iraj gone, Shideh and Dorsa are left to navigate their lives in an increasingly unsettling environment. Over the following days, Dorsa becomes more anxious, frequently talking about the djinn. Shideh tries to comfort her daughter, repeatedly assuring her that such entities are mere myths. However, Dorsa's fears deepen when Mehdi, the landlord's nephew, tells her more about the djinn. Curious and unsettled, Shideh confronts Mehdi's family and learns something chilling. Mehdi, she discovers, has been mute ever since losing his parents in the war. This revelation adds an eerie layer to the boys' warnings. One night, everything changes when a missile crashes into their building, causing a huge explosion. The force of the blast shakes the entire apartment complex, sending everyone into a panic. Dorsa, scared and confused, runs to grab her doll, Kimia, but before she can reach it, she faints in the living room. Shideh rushes to her daughter's side and finds her unconscious, her small body still. After a moment of fear and uncertainty, Shideh is relieved to see that Dorsa is alive, but the situation is far from okay. The aftermath of the explosion is devastating. The father of one of their neighbors upstairs is badly injured, and despite Shideh's medical knowledge and her desperate attempts to help, she is unable to save him. She's left standing over him, feeling helpless and overwhelmed by the weight of the situation. Her training as a doctor couldn't change what happened, and this feeling of powerlessness takes a heavy toll on her. The war and its horrors are no longer just something she reads about in the news. They've hit too close to home, leaving her with a deep sense of fear and sorrow. After the missile strike, Dorsa becomes increasingly insistent that the djinn has taken her doll, Kimia. Shideh initially dismisses this as an overactive imagination, but strange occurrences begin to unfold in their apartment. Cracks appear in the ceiling, and a palpable sense of unease takes hold. Dorsa grows feverish, and Shideh starts experiencing unsettling nightmares. In one particularly horrifying dream, she envisions a figure resembling Iraj choking her, ominously declaring that it has come for Dorsa. As the days pass, things around Shideh and Dorsa start to feel more and more unsettling. Dorsa's behavior becomes less predictable, making Shideh even more worried. One day, Shideh makes a disturbing discovery. Her favorite aerobics VHS tape, which she had always cherished, is completely destroyed. It's just a tape, but it meant a lot to her. This small loss feels like a symbol of everything falling apart. Shideh can't help but wonder what's happening in their apartment. The strange changes are getting harder to ignore. She feels a growing sense of unease, like something is not quite right. At first, she tells herself it's just stress from the war and the chaos around them. But as more odd things happen, her doubt begins to grow. She wonders if maybe there's something deeper going on, something she can't explain or control. One night, Shideh hears a noise and finds Dorsa outside, banging on the door of the upstairs apartment. Dorsa is crying loudly, tears streaming down her face as she screams about the djinn. She's terrified, shouting that her doll, Kimia, is missing. Shideh feels a wave of shock and worry. She doesn't know how to handle the situation. Up until now, she had brushed off Dorsa's fear of the djinn, thinking it was just childish imagination. But now, seeing her daughter so scared and acting this way, it's becoming harder to ignore. Shideh tries to calm Dorsa down, but deep inside, she starts to feel uneasy herself. Is something really wrong, or is it just Dorsa's overactive imagination? As she holds her crying daughter close, Shideh begins to wonder if there's more to Dorsa's fears than she first thought. Desperate for answers, Shideh talks to Mrs. Ebrahimi, another neighbor, hoping to understand what's going on. Mrs. Ebrahimi shares an old belief about jinns, explaining that these evil spirits often target people by stealing something precious to them. If the object isn't returned, the jinn will keep haunting them. Shideh, still skeptical, brushes it off as superstition, but she can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. The strange events are only getting worse. As the eerie occurrences intensify, more and more tenants decide to leave the building. The combined fear of war and the growing sense of something otherworldly drives them away. Soon, Shideh and Dorsa find themselves nearly alone in the once crowded apartment complex. The jinn's presence becomes undeniable, manifesting in ways that leave Shideh questioning her own sanity. The boundaries between reality and the supernatural blur, creating a suffocating atmosphere of dread. The film delves deep into the psychological toll of fear, war, and isolation. Shideh's struggle to protect her daughter while grappling with her own doubts and fears creates a compelling narrative. Her relationship with Dorsa becomes a central focus, highlighting the bond between mother and child even in the face of unimaginable terror. The jinn serves as both a literal and metaphorical representation of the unseen forces that haunt them, be it the trauma of war, societal pressures, or personal regrets. In the end, Under the Shadow is so much more than just a scary story. It's a touching look at how strong people can be, especially when it comes to being a mother and protecting your child. Even in the darkest moments, the human spirit shows its ability to fight and survive. The movie blends the supernatural with the harsh reality of living in a war-torn city, leaving us both scared and deeply moved. Don't you think it's amazing how the story mixes fear with such deep emotional moments? How do you think you would cope in a situation like that? This film is a powerful reminder of how much strength we have, even when things seem impossible. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more movie insights. What's your favorite movie that combines fear with real-life struggles? Let us know in the comments.